Hey there, I'm Trisha and welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about outgrowing old favorites. So this is going to be a review slash discussion slash semi-rant that was inspired upon my rereading of the book Blood and Chocolate by Annette Curtis Claus. So after I read this, I asked myself, did I make a mistake in rereading a favorite book from when I was 14 or 15 years old? Blood and Chocolate was the first and only werewolf book that I have ever read. Werewolf stories are just not my thing, but I connected with Vivian's plight so thoroughly and loved the book so much that for many years I held it up on a pedestal as a 5-star book. Recently I found this copy that was used at a local thrift store and I was ecstatic because I had been craving a reread of this. Since my original read of Blood and Chocolate, I had forgotten a lot of the plot points that are in this book, and now at 28, I thought it would be the perfect time to do a reread. Diving into the book now seemed like a great idea because not knowing a lot of the plot points would potentially spark the magic that the book once held for me, and it would be as close as to reading it for the first time as I could ever get for a book. Blood and Chocolate is about Vivian, a 16-year-old werewolf whose pack has to move to the suburbs after a tragic accident that killed her father, who happened to be their pack alpha. As Vivian's pack struggles to adapt to living in a new location and picking a new pack leader, Vivian happens to find herself drawn to a human boy at her school. Aiden might just be the only human that Vivian has ever met that can truly understand and appreciate the magic of who she is, but she has to decide if it's worth the risk of exposing herself and her pack for the love of someone who is not one of their own. Honestly, even today, this book has an interesting enough premise for something that I feel like I might pick up if I was in the mood for some sort of light, fluffy romance. But I was not prepared for some of the content that I found in this book. First off, this book is the definition of insta-love, but it's something that I'm willing to forgive because it's a product of its time. Blood and Chocolate was originally published back in 1997, and that was a time where the demand for young adult or new adult books was not the same as what we experience today. There wasn't really a market for it. And so because of that, the quality of the works that were being published at the time targeting that specific age group was not the same quality that we would find in today's publications. So the insta-love honestly is not that big of a deal for me. I'm willing to forgive it. The rest of the issues, however, are things that I cannot forgive. And more importantly, they are issues that I can't wrap my brain around the fact that I did not see these glaring flaws the first time I read it. The sheer number of rapey and misogynistic comments that are made about and to Vivian are just completely inexcusable. Male members of Vivian's pack talk about her as if she is an object, a possession, quote, our woman. And even when they're in their human forms, they blatantly state that they will take what they want from her. These are comments that even at 15 years old, I thought that I was aware enough of them to say that that's not okay. And yet, somehow, I overlooked them. And I'm ashamed of myself for it. There was an exchange in this book that completely blindsided me. And that is the moment where Aiden's father makes really suggestive comments to Vivian when she is visiting their home for a family dinner. Now, that moment is gag-worthy enough in itself, but what's even more repulsive is that Vivian is not appalled by the fact that he is 25 years older than her, maybe more, and she is a child. Rather, she is, and I quote, repelled by the man's lack of loyalty to his son. But that still doesn't stop her from offering up a flirtatious reply to his blatant offer. And for years between my original read and this reread, I was able to really connect with Vivian and understand her struggle with wanting to fit in but being unable to fully feel comfortable in either the human or the werewolf world. I was a teenager that never really seemed to fit in with any particular group in high school. I always seemed to skirt around the edges of groups, so I never really fit in. And because of that, I seemed to really get Vivian. But this reread of Blood and Chocolate has really opened my eyes to the fact that Vivian is a horrible person. There is so much girl on girl hate in this book, between teenagers and adults, between friends, between pack members, and even family. I can fully understand now why Vivian in this book seems to lack any true friends, because she is the definition of a mean girl. Now, I am unsure exactly why I seemed to overlook these things during the time at which I originally read Blood and Chocolate. I can only speculate. Is it because at the time I didn't fully understand the scope of comments that can be made to objectify someone? Or maybe I was at an age where I felt so disconnected from my peers that I was just longing for a connection of someone who was more mature, that I didn't see grown men making sexual advances on young girls as a bad thing. Or maybe because feeling like I never fit in, I thought that the way that Vivian and the other females, the way they treated each other in this book was normal. Whatever the case, I hope that now that I've seen the reality of this book, I can take these notes and be able to better identify these issues in future reads. So back to the original question. Did I make a mistake in rereading a book that once had been a childhood favorite? While I discovered that a beloved 5-star read was actually garbage and worthy of no more than 1 star, I don't believe I made a mistake in rereading Blood and Chocolate. I honestly can say I learned a lot of things about rereading this book. I'm always learning and growing in my journey of being a reader, and I hope that this experience will make me more critical of the content that I consume in the future. And this leads me to another question. Am I concerned about other past favorites not standing up to my more critical eye? And I have to say, yes, I am, but it also excites me because I want to see if there's the possibility that other favorites will still remain 4 or 5-star reads. So I decided to have this discussion because I could quite easily do a rant review on this book. That's how much Blood and Chocolate upset me reading it as an adult. It is an appalling read. The content in it is disgusting. I felt that it was necessary to talk about it in a more cohesive way, though, than just talking about a rant review. So if you want to hear more of my thoughts, feel free to leave me a comment down below, asking me, whatever your questions may be. And let me know in the comments down below, have you ever reread a book that you loved as a child to have a completely different opinion of it as an adult? And do you feel that it ruined the reading experience for you? Will you continue to reread childhood favorites as an adult? Or do you think that you're going to just hold them in fond memory but never go back to reread them? Let me know your answer to any of those questions in the comments down below. And now is a perfect time, if you have not already done so, click that little subscribe button down below if you would like to see more content from me in the future. And if you want to follow me elsewhere on the interwebs, I have all of my social media links in the description box down below. And I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!